The Say Something podcast is brought to you by amongt.morris.com and blackblueprints.com. That's blackblueprints with a Z.com. I am Jermaine Morris here with the one and only Mr. Barry Accius.
Yes, sir.
We are bringing you the Say Something podcast.
Say something, say something, say something.
That's right, where we talk about everything going on out here in the traffic, everything in this world that not only myself and Barry are saying something about, but something that we feel everybody should say something about.
Man, get loud and say something.
Episode 22.
We coming for 40.
Deuce to your dome piece.
Buh.
Bumper club.
I'm feeling my reggaeton.
Everybody feeling irie.
I'm feeling the shotters.
Get together.
The shot callers. Shout out to all of my Jamaicans.
Been a week since we got together. We drop new episodes every Wednesday.
Shouts out to everybody that's tuning in, giving feedback. We appreciate it. Definitely got some great feedback on episode 21. If you haven't listened to episode 21, we got a lot of bark and no balls. That's what I like to call it because, you know, we're talking about Barkley. We're talking about the Ball family. And it was funny. Somebody hit me on Facebook, and it was, shouts out to the Queen in Tennessee. And she was like, I didn't even really know about the Ball story. Didn't really understand the breakdown of the Ball story.
Okay.
So what we do and Say Something, we're just educating, informing, and just saying to you guys, if you're not saying something, you know, we're going to continue to have the same rhetoric and the same BS from people. Then that's why it's important for y'all to tune in, subscribe, share, and give us feedback on what you want us to say.
Exactly. You can find it typically on SoundCloud is where they're all loaded up to. Eventually we'll make the shift over to iTunes, Spotify, but it'll always be on SoundCloud.
Damn, we going to go big time?
Yeah, man. It's all about growth and development.
Oh, look at you. I mean, you know, you got the studio looking right. So I
Say
guess.
Something Studios. You know, we talk about different stuff, and we appreciate the feedback, the comments, shared on Facebook, Twitter, wherever.
Yeah.
You know,
but we need y'all to tune in on a regular, straight up.
Yes.
Stop playing.
Yes.
Because you know my voice is sexy. But you ain't going to say yes to that, right?
I'm going to let that one go. How did I leave for the people to speak on?
No doubt.
So speaking on stuff, what's happening out here? What's going on?
Man, I just got back from a great moment. One of my kids graduated. Shouts out to Janera. She graduated from San Diego State. That's why I take pleasure and pride of being a mentor and actually being a father to a lot of these young men and women out here. And, man, I've been her mentor since, sophomore year in high school.
Okay.
And she got to walk that stage, yo.
Cool.
It's crazy.
Didn't even get, not even the degree in the mail. She actually got
got the whole 3 graduations.
Cool.
And I'm going to the next one. My other daughter, Devonna, she's graduated from Long Beach State.
Very nice.
So Voice of the Youth, we're doing our thing when it comes down to mentorship. It's powerful. I just can't. The joy that I get watching their success, at least them understanding at an early age, let me at least take care of this part of my business.
Yeah.
And then figure out my life a little bit later. But at least what I'm going to do, I'm going to come out of high school. I'm going to get focused. I'm going to go through the trials and tribulations of life in college, and I'm going to make it make sense. And me being able to support, plant seeds, and give money.
Yeah.
That's important.
College folks do need money.
Listen, forget all the inspirational and motivational speeches. Sometimes I need you to hit my account.
They need to get that laundry done.
I'm just saying.
Need some top ramen.
Say something.
Need anybody who's got kids know if your kids, you're never done.
Say something.
They may change addresses, but you ain't done.
Never.
You know, they'll be 18, 19, 20, 21, swing by the house. I just want to come by and say hi with a sack of laundry to do. Go walk straight to the refrigerator. Yeah. You got $20 I can hold. Yeah. I'm on E.
No doubt. And sometimes they just need to feel like someone really cares because they can't come down on holidays. And I don't participate in the holidays, but I know me visiting them is very important.
Yeah.
So we've had 2 college graduates, Hampton and Long Beach, Ajane, Dejane, you know, all the nays, right? Yeah. We had that last year, and this year we have another 2 college students graduating for the program, which is a beautiful thing. And of course we have all our middle school kids and high school kids will be graduating.
That's always good to hear. That's always good to hear.
I'm doing what I'm supposed to do on these streets about our children and about our youth.
Because when we talk about and say something to folks who are doing stuff, because most of the focus gets to the folks who aren't. Yeah. And I think the dude who's currently leading the league and not doing what he's supposed to do is the 45th president of these here United States.
And on the Say Something podcast, we have Trump news. Yeah. And we're not going to get too into it, but we have to kind of give a little bit of some info on the latest of the fuckery we call the presidency.
45. Yeah, he's
Mr. Number 45.
Stays out of pocket. Just stays out of pocket like a watch in the 20s. He just lay hanging.
But you know what's funny? I think it's the arrogance of him.
Okay.
That we're not so used to. We're used to it on levels, of course, in different industries.
Okay.
But not so much in the presidency, right? Because let's be honest. Everyone, maybe except for Obama, and Obama, people will want to highlight him as being the great one. I mean, black folks want to do that, but he didn't really do that much to move black folks. But it's another story to talk about in another time. But every other president, like maybe besides Jimmy Carter, they never was really pushing the line for culture, pushing the line for the color folks. I mean, they did certain things, but they all had a racist tone to them. But it just seems like, and then had a lot of fuckboy analogies behind them as well. I think that with this guy Trump, he's so arrogant, he's so loose-lipped, he's so a Twitter finger happy, and he's just doing some of the most outlandish stuff that we're just finding out in real time. Okay. Not years, but in real time, like on a current stage.
Yeah, well, I think something that would be interesting to see, I think Donald Trump is probably one of the least racist presidents that we've had.
I think so.
And the reason why I say that is because I said before that racism is the smoke, classism is the fire.
Okay.
He is the epitome of classism.
Yeah.
So not only he may make comments about women, he may make comments about black people, Asian, Mexican, whatever. I think he pretty much feels the same about everybody who's not in his tax bracket. I don't think he likes middle class, middle Caucasian America any more or any less than low, middle, or upper black.
It's rich or not.
Yeah, I just don't think he cares. That's why he put all his homies in the cabinet.
Oh, he definitely
It's the Billionaire Boys Club.
Most definitely.
I just don't think he's probably one of the least racist presidents. I just don't think he gives a F if you're not in his tax bracket.
And let me take that back because I agree. He does come off with some racial undertones for sure, but there's definitely been more racist outright presidents that we've had.
Way more
with the laws, the rules. Yeah. I think he says out of pocket shit, but he says out of pocket shit that a lot of his rich friends are saying and they're congregating about, and he just actually says it.
Yeah, I think he just believes that the people he talks about are beneath him, not because of what color they are, but because of what they're quote unquote worth.
Yes.
So if you don't make what I make, you don't have what I have, you can't do what I do, I don't care what color you are, you're beneath me.
Yeah, you don't hold up to my standards.
Yeah, so if he's gonna get any nods from me, that would be his nod.
No, I definitely believe that, as you broke that down, and as I guess you get so caught up with the race baiting that he does. So you say racism because that's kind of like the undertone kind of phrase for him. But in reality, classism is Donald Trump at his best.
Yeah.
As we've gotten, he is the epitome of looking out for the homie. The epitome of looking out for the homie.
Yeah.
You do me a favor, I'm going to do you one better.
Yeah.
I'm going to put you in this position. From Linda McMahon, right?
Yeah. All billionaires.
Right. From the lady he got in education.
Yeah. All billionaires.
Right. And you go on to the laundry list of people that he's put in position.
Yeah.
Sessions, right?
Yeah.
It's all individuals that are going to work for his best interest and cover his back.
10 figures or better.
Yeah, that's crazy. and there's no one that looks like America. It's a bunch of rich people that are controlling what is supposed to be a more balanced America, a more diverse America. And for what I know, I don't think everybody's walking around here superly rich in America right now.
No, but like I said, with him, he's reached a place, like I said, it's 10 figures or better. And if you're not in that bracket, you don't qualify below $1 billion. Because so you take it, they had the hip hop Forbes list that came out, and Puffy's worth 820 million, something like that. Jay was right behind him, but he just did the Live Nation deal for 200 million. They're both
Puffy's still making more money than Jay?
Puffy's making more than everybody, and both floating right below $1 billion. Puffy hit the $1 billion mark. He still don't count. Do you know what I'm saying? Like he hit the $1 billion. That's the qualifying. Like that's now I'm gonna start judging you. Like you don't even qualify before $1 billion in that group. Puffy hit $1 billion. Sean Combs does not have a seat at the table. You know what I'm saying? Like when he start making moves and government appointees and federal decision being made, Puffy, Sean Carter, they do not qualify. They just get to sit in the room while other power players are being put in position. So I mean, I think he starts being racist at billionaires. I think he's classist. I think he's classist. It's classism to anybody who's got less than $1 billion, and then he becomes racist once you hit the $1 billion mark. Like Oprah's not getting play in the Trump administration. Oprah's not getting appointed to anything solid. So he becomes racist once you hit $1 billion. But I think that a lot of the stuff is about how we perceive things. Mm-hmm. You know, about how we take in stuff and how we see people and what we think things are. Because we talked about it briefly before we started about people's perception of something. Yeah. There's a terminology that is used throughout our community that is used regularly, but inconsistently. Mm. And so I was posing the question, and I think it's something to say something about, because I just don't feel like I could be the only one who has this question, about the concept of being conscious. Mm. The concept of being, quote unquote, woke. Okay. Like throughout our community, we like to say that people who are, conscious, you start associating folks who are pro-black, just to start with. Pan-Africans. You may go to people who are just looking for the betterment of black people. No religious ideology. Mm-hmm. You find some that may be associated with what the Black Panther Party was. Some is associated with what the Nation of Islam is. You'll find some that go all natural. Take my hair weave out. Take the makeup off. Take the fake nails and go all natural. Brothers who like, I'm swearing off pork, alcohol, and white women. I'm not vaccinating my children. I'm gonna go to there's all these different things
not putting my children in public school.
All that stuff that fall into these categories.
I'm living off the grid.
Yeah, but what actually definitively, because I was confused and why I posed it and posed the question a little more solid. A friend of mine had brought it to my attention. He was talking about some community stuff I'd done, primarily a lot of it I'd done with you, Barry, and he was saying something about you how conscious you've gotten over the last couple of years. And I said, I don't even use that word. I said, 'cause I don't even know what that means. Yeah. I said, I know what conscious means by sense of just being aware, but I'd like to think I've always been aware. I just think that my priorities shifted in what I decided to spend my time towards, but it wasn't, I knew 10 years ago that being involved with the youth of the community was important.
Definitely.
It's just 10 years ago, you could find me in the club or drinking my two-step. It's not that I wasn't aware that the need was there. Mm-hmm. It just wasn't a priority in my life. Mm. So when we talk about saying something to people who we call woke, people that we call conscious, like what do you think falls under those categories? Because there's a few examples we'll bring to the table, because I just see so much contradiction and so much question surrounding it.
I don't know. Like, I'm lost to it now, because at the same time, I felt that there was kind of like a defined definition. Yeah. But now I'm to the point where I really don't even want to be labeled or positioned in that category of a conscious community. Because then it all of a sudden becomes, well, you know, this is the conscious community, and this is the church community, and this is the ghetto community. It's always where we have to be putting ourselves in these labels, and if you don't fall into one of these brackets, well, then we don't need to talk to you about this subject, when everything that affects black, it affects all of the categories you want to put yourself under, right? Yeah. If you're a rich Negro, eventually the poor Negroes' problems will affect you.
One way or the other.
Because you may be one of them poor Negroes after you get rich because you're not wealthy, right? Yeah. So,
or you may be robbed by one of the poor Negroes.
Most definitely.
So, I mean, at some point, everybody's problem becomes your problem.
So, conscious in a sense of, I think, understanding, and this is what I'm viewing it, understanding the plan of the system of white supremacy, learning about self, knowledge of history, you know, and the historical aspects of who we really truly are. From the motherland of Africa to understanding that it wasn't only the enslavement of the black American, to consciously be identifying with the roots, right? To know that. I think that's more of the conscious, like I know my ancestors, I'm one with my ancestors. Then the level of not buying into European philosophy. Not buying into European jargon, just an immense European, I want to say European vocabulary, but just kind of the European way of living. But then you have a level of consciousness, but then you have a level of ratchetness, because there's so many of us that have transformed to being more consciously more woke. That isn't really a new thing. It's pretty much an old thing that's coming back, being more popularized, because if you look at it in the earlier parts of hip-hop, that's what hip-hop was. Hip-hop, consciously knowing and understanding what's going on and not feeding the community poison, uplifting and empowering the community, right?
So just following along with that. So keep it on hip-hop. So most people would probably say, if you listen to hip-hop music, you would associate Nas with being conscious or woke. Yeah, is that accurate?
Yeah.
You know, you go back, you got guys like the Poor Righteous Teachers, KRS-One.
X-Clan. Yeah. Public Enemy.
That would be, for the sake of purposes, considered a woke group.
I would say more or less those groups even more than Nas.
But
Nas sounds good.
Just to put, so people can associate who we're talking about.
Nas is very wise in the consciousness. But it was very street at the same time.
Good point. So would an Ice Cube and NWA be any more or less quote unquote woke than a Public Enemy? Because now they're talking about what's going on, and they're addressing issues from police brutality to drugs in the community to all these different things. They just do it a little more vulgar.
Ice Cube, after he left NWA, America's Most Wanted, Death Certificate, very more or less conscious, gathered himself with a very conscious group.
Joined the Nation of Islam back there.
So,
became Muslim.
Yeah, in that sense, we create that with conscious, individuals. So I would think that his rap, and instead of glorifying the things that were glorified in NWA, later on down the line, he was kind of magnifying it as teaching. So when America's Most Wanted, when you really listen to like Who's the Mac or The End You Love to Hate, even the song America's Most Wanted, he was giving you tales, right? Tales from there was one song with Chuck D. I think these are tales from the dark side and the crack side, one of the songs. But I was just listening to the other day, and he was educating. It was more or less education on the things that were going on.
So, and the reason why I use those as examples, so you would take Ice Cube, somebody of that time period, who's still glorifying street life for all intents and purposes. Now, granted, he was given more education and a little more context, but he didn't really switch it up. Like, if you liked Ice Cube with NWA, you were still on board with Ice Cube for America's Most Wanted.
He didn't switch it up and get X-Clan.
Yes, I'm saying, like I said, like if you liked him in NWA, you stayed with him to America's Most Wanted. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's what I mean, not switch it up.
Well, even when you even look at it, you got to think about KRS-One. He was one of the major influences, I think, to a lot of the artists being as conscious. But KRS-One was battle rapping, and he also talked some of that gangster shit.
Well, the reason why I use Ice Cube is because it's the same guy who was he was a spokesman for St. Ives.
Yeah.
40 drinking.
Yeah.
Talking that gun toting. Yeah. Though he was never in a gang and never did gang direct affiliation.
But you couldn't tell me that. I thought Ice Cube was a killer when I heard him on NWA.
Yeah, gangster. Like, I mean, he was, the
hardest rapper alive.
Yeah, he replaced, terms of like Blood and Crip. He was just always gangster. Even when he did West Side Connection, it was the gangster, the killer, and the dope dealer.
Yeah.
He was the gangster. So, I mean, the reason why I'm asking and framing it this way is because I'm trying to, this is me trying to understand.
So this is a show about you.
Well, because I think that I can't be the only person with these questions. You know what I'm saying? So when we as a community are putting these labels, like if you say somebody's church folk, it's real easy to tell what a church folk is.
No, most definitely.
You go to church all the time. Yeah. You in church circles. You do church stuff. Mm-hmm. If you're conscious and you're supposed to be quote unquote woke,
it's more. You got your natural going. You're gonna have a few dashikis.
Yeah.
You're gonna have your unk popping off. You're gonna speak the words a little bit more eloquently. You're going to talk that peace king, peace queen, my brother, my sister. You're going to know a lot of historical points of why we need to stay in unity. It's going to be a lot of pro-black,
okay,
right? So those are kind of the frames. It's going to be with your RBG colors. You're definitely going to be with the red, black, and green for sure,
okay,
right? You're going to be representing your ancestors a lot more.
Okay, so now that being the case, but then you drink, you maybe you got a baby you ain't taking care of.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You're doing things that are not in alignment with that.
Yeah.
Does that take away any of your quote unquote wokeness?
I think that when you look at the Black Panthers, I mean, they wasn't all wrapped too tight. And you can't never take anything away from them.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to, because I think that's where so part of this comes from. There's a show on Netflix right now, and it's called
Dear White People.
Dear White People,
uh-huh.
And it's based around a college campus where there's a young sister who does a radio show, and that's the opening line. Dear White People. And she addresses different social issues and racial issues that exist on campus. And the question came up because she is of mixed race, mixed heritage. She was dating a white boy. So the question could be, can you be conscious? Can you be woke? Because if you saw her on campus, she was all about the natural, fist in the air. Yeah. It was the red, black, and green. Yeah. It was all that stuff that you would align with being woke or conscious, but she had a white boyfriend.
You going there, bro. You go in there. I don't know if the listeners are ready for this.
So and that was the question.
I don't know if they're ready for this.
DL Hughley, comedian, radio host, all this stuff. He just posed the question this week too. He said, "Can you be conscious? Can you be woke? If could a man same thing? Could a man be conscious or woke if he's sleeping with white girls?"
I have a lot of friends on my Facebook that when you read their posts, you think, okay, this brother's all about the empowering of black folk.
Okay.
Then you see the pictures, and then you're like, this brother got a white wife.
Okay.
Mixed kids. But that brother's talking that black power for real. I don't really know, because I think that the formula for being awoke, being conscious, is to definitely be with your own.
Okay.
I think it helps line up things a lot better. There's no gray area.
Yeah.
And in reality, the funny thing about when brothers go outside of their own, usually it's a long-term relation that they've had before they've kind of woken up, allegedly. Yeah. Or it could be someone that understands them, right?
Okay.
But then how can you be with that person saying she understands you, but then you're saying you understand the struggle of a black man and a black woman, but you're trying to uplift, but yet you're dating someone that's outside your race? And that's not saying that I'm saying black folks should just marry and date white folks. I believe that it's a point in time in your life that you should mingle with who you need to mingle with, kind of figure it all out. But for me, I like black women.
Okay.
And I feel there's enough of a variation of black women for me to handle, from red bone to dark to light to caramel.
Whatever it is you're looking for.
It's the flavors of the month, and it's an ice cream parlor effect. And it's no disrespect being said.
I get it.
But I always have to question that awoke, conscious individual when they're dealing, because it's happening a lot more. And I'm saying, well, if this is happening where we're having more biracial couples, multicultural couples, from all that stuff, right? Well, how are we still spinning in conversation and we're still dealing with the wrath of racism? Like, what are you guys doing? Are you guys sitting in your crib talking about it, or is this kind of like something that doesn't happen? Like, when you're posting and you're degrading her people, and she like, or is he like, like, what is your spouse saying?
Or is it he just talking that mess again?
I'm just saying,
you know what I mean?
Like, how really true are you to the empowerment of us as people? Because a lot of what we say is, don't tell me, show me.
Okay.
So the example of showing me, you will see me bury Accius with sisters. You will see bury Accius. I got white friends, but I'm not going to be in a situation where you're going to catch me in a Hollywood shuffle with a white woman, right? I'm not going to be in no zone where it's like, oh yeah, I'm dating. I've had that moment and I'm over it.
Okay.
This is what I'm on, because I want to show black love as much as I possibly can, or just show black men, black women, because now what you're seeing is black women, white man, black women, or everything else. And then some people will say, well, if I'm dealing with a Asian or a Latino who kind of can maybe understand the struggle for being a person of color, I still kind of am like, I don't know about that either.
Okay, so take it in that. So one of the things that hit the news of this past year, who throughout her entire professional career would be labeled as quote unquote woke, quote unquote conscious. It's Serena Williams. Throughout her career, from winning the Open and walking on the court, from always showing up for issues when it pertained to black people and black women, who pretty much solid was deemed within the community as being an aware sister to what's going on. Like, she knew firsthand the systemic issues of racism, because she picked tennis as a sport.
Yeah.
One that we're not represented in, with the exception of her sister, Venus.
And she dominated.
Yeah, so she would get firsthand what that looks like. And from linked to a Drake or to a Common or whatever, that seemed like, okay, Serena now pregnant, go marry a white dude.
And it made the young black brothers upset.
So now, because of her choice of mate, does that in any way change, negate, or alter her view? Like, you're less woke now?
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like,
I'm not saying that you're less woke, but I mean...
Not her specifically, but that is an example.
Yeah, exactly. That's a perfect example. Beautiful example. I just don't... What's the conversation like? That's what I want to know. I mean, does your spouse feel that same way? Because I think we all have a sense of loyalty to our own race.
Yeah.
I like to say race first. I mean, it's a slogan. It's an old slogan, but it's being said. But every day, people, they practice race first.
Yeah.
The only thing about black folk is we have to say it, and it's rarely practiced, where others don't have to say it. They just do it.
Yeah, something that David Banner had brought up recently. And I got a lot of respect for that brother. For his transition from when he came out from the Like a Pimp to where he's at now with the God Box. Like, he's just a lot of transition and a lot of evolution.
And it's powerful. At the same time, the way I look at it is, you have a woman like Serena that unfortunately, really unfortunately, you just named a list of guys, and we don't know if it was her, if it was him, but something was going on to where Serena, the queen she is, didn't feel like she was being treated the way she needed to be treated, and she went on
and found
to the
a man
white guy
that treated her the way
just like Eve.
Eve, yeah. Also,
the pit bull in the skirt.
Got a billionaire boys club.
Just like Janet Jackson.
Got a bit. Middle Eastern.
We doesn't matter. Well, he ain't black.
Oh,
and we can argue it.
Middle Eastern is
it's a lot closer, but he ain't.
If you're of African descent, you are probably semi of Arab descent as well.
All trails fall back to Africa. Yeah. But I'm saying he's just not our skin tone. He's not black African in that sense.
Yeah.
And then we can also say Miss Halle Berry.
Okay, see, now that's different. And the reason why I make the Halle Berry difference is more closer to the girl from the TV program because Halle's half white. So if you
look at Halle, you wouldn't even tell that.
But she knew that growing up. So because it's the same reference to that character on the show as well as like a Jesse Williams. If you grew up in a household where one parent is one thing and the other parent is if your dad is white and your mom is black, but you look black at all intents and purposes in society. But you grew up with the blueprint of how the man that you're going to find is white. Mm-hmm. To then go out and get a white man, is that being less aware or less conscious? Because that's a woman's first blueprint for her man is her father.
I hear that in a simple fact, but at the same time, like with just speaking on Halle Berry, I think that so many black men, and even going to Serena, I think so many black men, and we're talking about prominent from David Justice to Wesley Snipes to Eddie Murphy's.
Dudes with money, dudes with paper.
Dudes that was established. And when they were rocking,
in their field, they were at the top of their game.
Respective
fields, yeah.
That, and even her husband, Eric, you know what I'm saying, Bonet, who basically
recognizing her in his field.
Gee Louise, he was hitting everything. He was a sex addict. That's what his excuse. You know what I mean?
I know somebody who tours with him.
Okay, I can't handle it. I got to do what I got to do, Allie. So I think sometimes from the pain and the affliction of feeling so low and not feeling like they were adequate enough, that their options, being successful, that they can pick and choose and say, you know what? Instead of going and finding brothers like us, because we are available, they said, we're going to go outside of the box, but still in the same tax bracket. Yeah. And we go find.
Well, they all upgraded tax bracket.
Yeah. So
even Serena, dude is the guy who runs Reddit.
Oh yeah, Eve's dude's a billionaire.
Yeah. They're straight on the paper side of the game.
So I don't know on a level of understanding, but it's just like church. We all believe that there's something that's moving this, but we can't agree on what is actually moving.
Okay, so church, good segue of the same philosophy, because if the people of the quote unquote conscious woke community will associate Christianity, Catholicism, whatever, all the sub branches of Christianity, whether it be Catholic, Presbyterian, Baptist, Methodist, whatever, all under the same umbrella, as alignment with European thinking, philosophy, and ways. So you can't be quote unquote conscious or woke if you still praying to white Jesus. So if that's the running model, I don't know anybody who would look at Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and say he wasn't conscious or that he wasn't woke, but he was a Baptist minister. Do you know what I'm saying? Like where, and it was white Jesus on the wall. So I'm saying, so where do we, you see where I'm personally I'm looking like the Riddler, just all these question marks over here about, what is it that we're trying to say and what is it that we're trying to follow?
I mean, I feel like in a sense of that being how you broke it down and in the scope of looking at it, what does it look like? Because again, when you talk about Martin Luther King, he also was a womanizer.
Exactly. So I'm saying, if you said on paper, name the most conscious, woke, about that life, about his people, brothers, you're going to get Marcus Garvey, you're going to get Malcolm X, you're going to get Martin Luther. You ain't going to get too many people down before you get to MLK. Mm-hmm. If you don't start with him, you only go in 2 or 3 deep on the list. Martin's staying in rotation. Yeah. When you talk about who are the most woke, conscious, aware brothers and about his people. But if you got a guy who's a Baptist minister, who's still praying to white Jesus, who's womanizing and cheating in the streets, how is that in alignment with consciousness?
Black and white woman. That's why I have said for myself, please don't put me in none of these boxes.
Yeah.
because I don't have time for it. I'm not who you want me to be, because I still have a lot of what I used to be in me.
Yeah.
I might not tap into that sector.
Okay.
But at the same time, I come from doing a lot of street shit. I'll never call myself a street Negro, but I was doing a lot of street shit, right?
Okay.
But I'll never call myself a thug, but I was doing a lot of thug shit, right?
Okay.
But I'm not gonna ever I couldn't promote myself like Tupac was promoting thug life, right?
Yeah.
It was like thuggery embodied me. I hung out with gangsters. I hung out with even with being allegedly a gangster, right? When I was doing gangster shit, I would never label myself. So when I was getting to that point of trying to figure it out, just like you're saying, well, what is this consciousness mean? Okay, I'm awoke and I understand what the plan of the man is and what the man is trying to do to dissemble us as a community. So I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
But how can I still really be truly this conscious individual that I know they've defined if I still have a lot of work to do, right?
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So Nino Brown was conscious. He was aware of how the system worked, how to tap into his people.
I don't know. No.
Okay. Follow me.
I'm gonna follow you. I don't know if I'm gonna follow you to the yellow brick road.
So if you took the character Nino Brown from New Jack City, was aware of the movements of the people where he was around.
Okay.
He became aware of how to play the system, because when he eventually got caught up and went to court, he flipped that whole script. Nah, it wasn't me. It was the light-skinned brother from the bank. Like, he knew how to take pleas. He knew how the system worked. He knew how to manipulate it. He knew how to ride the waves and the angles, and he knew how to get over on folks.
Yeah.
Like, he was very well aware.
Yeah.
He you know what I'm saying? He was very well aware of how everything around him was moving and working. That would make him conscious. But there's nobody who would say Nino Brown is a brother in the conscious community. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I think you're really breaking it down to levels that people don't really look at it. And when I look at it, that's why when I can't knock people for loving who they love, but then I have to sit there and I have to ask them, so where are we really going with this true black power stuff if you're dating a white woman or you're dating a white man or, you're dating someone outside of our race? But that's not me being prejudiced. I'm just asking that question.
Okay.
Then,
go ahead.
Then another situation is when you get into these European holidays, right?
Okay.
Individuals, we go right here.
Well, before we go too deep on the holidays, there's something I want to ask you about the relationship.
Okay.
So if it comes to the point to where you find out brother or sister has been in the streets, get 5, 10 years strong, Black Panther Party, like giving breakfast to the kids to make sure they got food in their stomach to go to school. Mm-hmm. At the school board meetings talking about, the curriculum that's involved with these kids and making sure that there's a better representation of themselves. They're involved in the community whenever there's a tragedy, as well as bringing opportunity to avoid tragedies. Mm-hmm. You find that they're deep in the street, pro-black, the dashikis, the whole nine. Then you find out that they sleeping with somebody of another race. Does that negate the work they put in? You know what I'm saying? Because they're not out there on Front Street. They're not out there walking hand in hand. Maybe not because they're hiding it. Maybe they don't walk out with anybody. They're just private people. Mm-hmm. And you find out she got Chad, at the house. he got Sally at the crib.
Yeah.
But they put in the work in the streets.
Okay.
But there's this one part about them that does not fall in alignment. Does that change the narrative of what they're doing to being woke or being conscious?
I think that the way I see it is everybody got a little bit of dirt on them. Everybody got a little situation that, might be questionable.
Okay.
But if they're putting in real work, and like I said, I go back to the Black Panthers. The Black Panthers weren't shining darlings.
Yeah.
I mean, it was robbing drug dealers. And they were shooting at cops. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I mean, they got thuggy. But at the same time, I will look at someone doing more good than harm if that's what they're doing, compared to them just rhetoric all day long, shouting on Facebook as if they are about that life when in true reality they're not.
That's why I'm using the example of the people out there, because that, and back to you say, keeping with alignment, is the Colin Kaepernick situation. So he took the knee. He was, protesting police brutality. He was the face of the franchise when it came to making change and addressing stuff. Then as he announces that I'm no longer going to take the knee, everybody was like, oh, fake protest, you ain't really about it. But in this off time, he's still been more active because he didn't have a team to report to. Mm-hmm. Like Kaepernick been in the streets, boots to the ground, donating his time, donating his resources, donating his money, linking people up, helping out kids, all the whole nine. So now he's got an opportunity to go interview or talk with Pete Carroll of the Seattle Seahawks. Mm. That may or may not turn into something. They're going to talk to him, talk to RG3, because they both seem to make sense as a backup for Russell Wilson. Mm-hmm. Carroll likes his guys bigger, so Kaepernick seems to be a better fit. So if he gets back in the game and he's no longer taking the knee, does that one behavior offset his consciousness, his awareness, his quote-unquote wokeness to the community? Because he's no longer taking a knee and he's back in the NFL.
I think, honestly, that, first of all, with Kaepernick, I have a few different things to say about that. I think with Cap, I applaud everything he's done. I applaud the stand. The fact that he's being blackballed by the NFL is hideous. But the simple fact that I think that he was someone that nobody felt that they wanted to touch, right? Because if you touch him, right, off top, you are going to get repercussions that I don't think any team wanted to deal with. So they'll wait it out.
He's got Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor, he had Lynch.
But
he's a little more open to that.
It's time, because it's like you're not going to get the money that you expect. Yeah. You see what's going on in the trend of quarterbacks retiring or going into being announcers and analysts, right? Whatever. So now you will take a gamble because he's not going to ask for probably as much as he was asking for in the beginning. Yeah. At the same time, I can't get upset or mad about Kaepernick wanting to get paid, because he still needs to get money to do the things that he needs to do to fight. That's the whole thing I think that happens to a lot of the movements. We move without paper.
We run out of funding.
So when we run out of funding, right, then
movement over.
The movement's done. And at the end of the day, as much as people want to say about conscious, niggles still need to get money to pay bills. Yeah. Unless you go off the grid, which is highly unlikely, you're still going to have to go somewhere to get your food. You're still going to have to go somewhere to pay a light bill. You're still going to have to go somewhere to drive a car, pay for gas. You're going to have to go somewhere.
Okay. So let's say Kaepernick's issue is not about money. It's just that he's still a young man. He's had a lifelong dream of being an NFL quarterback. Say he's got his finances set up to the sense of he's like, I can do this in the community. I can help out, but I'm never going to be broke again. Like maybe he's just smart with his money. Don't know the man, but let's just, for the sake of discussion, give him the benefit of the doubt. Mm-hmm. He wants to go to Seattle and take that opportunity if it's presented, just to be in the game. Now, granted, of course, he'll get a paycheck to play, but he's that dude that football is his life. Like he's that dude that since he was 9, dreamed of being an NFL player. Mm-hmm. So he wants back in the game to be in the game. Does that change that mentality at all? Does that change that thought about him?
I think that in a reality that, first of all, his awakeness,
his wokeness,
his woke. I stay woke. That's why I stay woke.
Stay woke.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, it happened in a moment where I think that he was just thrusted out there, and I think he was talking about it with a lot of his friends, and we spoke upon it before, and it was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. Y'all with me? And it's like, yeah, we with you. And as soon as that backlash came in, a lot of the cats jumped off.
Oh, you heard it?
Yeah, like, all right, I'm only with you to a certain degree.
With you in spirit,
right? I'm with you in the spirit. So in the sense of him coming back, you got to understand that a brother still needs to get paid. I don't really like the fact that he's backing away from the kneeling, but I can say one thing, that he stuck to his guns about actually doing the work.
See, because that to me, that's where I'm with you. I agree, because I don't really care so much about the kneel. I care about the fact that he's getting food to elderly. I care that he's putting clothes and backpacks in the hands of school kids. I care that he's getting after school programs in some harder areas where kids need outlets and resources. That to me, I care about. Mm-hmm. Like, the fact is that if this grown ass man chooses to stand or kneel on a Sunday morning really means nothing to me. Because had he just done the kneeling and said, I'm going to kneel this out, and didn't do any of the other stuff, I wouldn't give 2 F's about him taking a knee. Mm. But the fact that all the other stuff he does, I'm not offset by him standing because he's doing all the work. So maybe that's where I'm at, because to me, the way I see it, a guy who does all the footwork, all the leg work, gives up his own time, his own money, all that, but now chooses to stand, to me is just as conscious or just as woke as the same as a man or woman who put 10 years in the street, doing everything in the community, and then find out they got Chad or Becky at the house.
Well, you know
what I'm saying? Like, they're not less to me because of that.
But let's be clear. How many of the so-called conscious Negroes is really actually putting a lot of the work that needs to be done, besides just getting on YouTubes or speaking lectures and talking about the good play of what they should do and what we should be doing, and actually practicing and putting it into action?
Yeah.
Let's look at that on the framework. And it's not knocking anybody, but a lot of these Negroes have got a lot of dough off of the fact that this word conscious has become a go-to word, has been tagged as, well, here's all the levels of it, and now with that level, I'm going to get paid.
Because what I look at is that conscious became a synonym for blackness. So your degree of consciousness is a question of your degree of blackness. So if you're, you know what I mean, like, we know what we talking about when we say that, he black, but because we do that typecast, stereotype, and all that stuff, just like every other group does.
Yeah.
He black, but he ain't black.
He ain't black.
We always double up on the word. He black, but he ain't black. He like Don Lemon black. He like Carlton black. He ain't like, he's, we do that sort of stupid stuff. As if when you get pulled over at 2 a.m, there's a difference between how black you are.
Exactly.
If you think Tretch and Don Lemon is getting treated differently on the side of the road at 2 a.m, you lost your mind. But so when we start doing that to each other, questioning each other's blackness, like, what does that really do to us? Like, how damaging is that to us when we start saying that because you live in a suburb? You're a second generation suburban kid. So it's not like you grew up in the hood and the projects and then ran away to the suburbs. Yeah. Your mother or dad or father started off on Struggle Street, figured something out, moved to a better neighborhood because they didn't want them problems for their kids. You've grown up with nothing but white and Asian neighbors. You know what I'm saying? Like, your whole life, every classroom you had, you were the only black kid in there. So when it comes prom time, when it comes, junior prom, whatever it is, senior prom, or you're now going to college, getting engaged, you end up with Chad or Becky because that's your environment.
That's what you.
That's who you're around.
That's what you.
Does that make you less black, less woke, less conscious?
That's a difficult question, because at the end of the day, I hate the fact that black folks, we're so ignorant to the fact that education and being smart is something that we should celebrate. We almost celebrate ignorance more than we celebrate education, more than we celebrate a young man that's articulate. It's like you almost have to dumb yourself down
to be accepted.
To be accepted. It's just like, you're not black because you're not from the hood. Or when brothers be walking around and sisters I'm from Oakland, or I'm from New York, or like, well, what does that mean? I'm from the Bronx. Okay, you from the Bronx. You from the Bronx, but I know about the Bronx, but what about you?
Yeah.
Like, you can knuckle up. Are you hard? Are you that person? Are you that guy? Are you really about that life? No, you're not. So I think that we use that to break ourselves down internally, and then it plays out that we're just trying to find what is truly blackness. So when we talk about this conscious, then we're trying to figure out this conscious and a new level of blackness, as you said, because now we want to put labeled, I'm conscious, that means I'm super black, I'm pro-black. But in the same sense, it's exactly what it is. You're awake to things. But that doesn't mean that you're going to have all the shea butter. That doesn't mean you're going to have all the umps. That doesn't mean you have all the ancestors' phrase or speaking the different dialects.
Walk around quoting Frederick Douglass.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that when we look at it from the framework of it, we play ourselves by always trying to label ourselves and not just allowing ourselves to be like, yes, I'm a woke person. I'm conscious of what is going on and what I need to do in my community to build up our community. Not the simple fact that I know the Egyptian and manuscripts from 2000 BC.
Like, I've never seen Dr. Claude Anderson in a dashiki. But if I was going to say one of the most conscious and aware brothers of the systemic issues that plague Black Americans economically, socially, education system, to the political system, that brother is extremely enlightened and extremely, quote unquote, woke. I ain't never seen that brother in less than a shirt and tie. So, you know what I mean? So like that mentality of you got to walk around dressed like this or speaking like this, that in some way validates your blackness, is why I go to the phrase, they said racism is the smoke, but classism is the fire. We have a classist society amongst ourselves, that when we say you're not woke or you're not conscious or you're not as awake or not as conscious as I am, that's a class system. That's saying that I am some way better than you because I do this, but you don't. Okay, so you got the amongt, you got the dashiki, you shea butter, hotep brother, all the stuff that Brother Umar be calling these folks out for. But you got 3 kids you don't take care of. Mm-hmm. Now, you got 3 kids you don't take care of. She got a white boyfriend. You more black than her? You know what I'm saying? Like
it's just I hope and I pray that these relationships, because again, I can't knock people. I try to, as much as I possibly can, judge people on character.
Yes.
Not race, not skin color. But at the same time, I know that at the end of the day, I want my people to hit the head start, right?
Yes.
That's not knocking anybody else. That's just saying that this is my skin color.
That's the team I play for.
Brother, that's the team I play for, right? So it shouldn't be a thing to where people are so like, oh my God, you're just such a pro-black. Pro-black does not mean anti-anything. It just means I'm for my people first.
That was the thing I was thinking of with David Banner when he was talking, and he was saying they addressing him. He said I used to speak on racism. I don't speak on racism anymore. He said I'll speak on white supremacy, which is the systemic problem that plagues my people, in the sense of, laws that are put in place, policies that incarcerate, that don't teach my kids properly. That, he said, but racism is just simply, race is just the root word. Ism is just a continuation of that root word. He said, if you're white, you're supposed to be racist. He said, I'm not mad at white people for being racist. You're supposed to be. And I look at that too. If there's 1,000 people in the room, you got 100 white people, 100 black people, 100 Mexicans, 100 Asians, whatever, and there's some disease that comes through, and the white person has the vaccine, but only 100 doses. There's 1,000 people and 100 of each group. His thought process the 100 white people should get the 100 doses. They're the same that if you got the vaccine and there's 1,000 people in the room and you like, there's 100 doses, there's 100 black people. I'm giving it to these 100 black people first. And the rest of y'all gonna have to figure it out. But just sitting with that. If that's your thought process, then I can see it. He said his issue was, my issue is not that white people are racist. He said, my issue is that black people aren't. That white people put white people first, as in who can get a shot for a job, who can get an opportunity for this, who can get a leg up for that. He said, we're the only people that don't. We put everybody else ahead of us, and we pull each other back. He said, I'm not mad at the white man for being racist. I'm mad at black people for not being racist.
Well, I mean, I disagree with that idea. I understand where he's coming from on that point. But at the same time, if we're judging on character, I mean, I've never had a white person pull a gun on me, but I had a black person.
Yeah.
Now, white folks systematically do a lot more, and unfortunately, because of what has been created, it created that brother to do what he did to me.
Yeah.
I understand that, but in the same time, I would love, and the reason why I'm this way, because it's the belly of the beast.
Okay.
Kill or be killed. I know what it is, right? It is that the framework of America was created off racism, right? It was created off people feeling inferior and domination. So in a sense, where I'm looking at who are my allies, of course I want to say that this black guy, this black woman is my ally. But in reality, I would much rather base it on character, because I've also had a lot of Caucasians, Latinos Asians that I've had great relationships
that
with
have
helped me out
have the resources
a lot more,
yeah.
a lot more than my fellow brother and sister. So sometimes when we're going back to, well, why are some of our people picking other cultures? It's because of the way they've been treated by their own. That's why I can't really knock it. I always try to figure it out. Like, well, what happened? You couldn't wait it out. If we're rounding about and we're talking about some of these high-profile celebrities who had the pickings of whatever they wanted. Like, you know what? If Serena came and knocked on my door, whoever I'm dating at that time, I'm sorry, I'm going with Serena because the options just look better, right? But they chose to say, I'm going to keep it as black as possible. But after a while, it's like, you don't want to settle down. You don't want to have no kid. You don't want to claim me as your own. Yeah. Whatever. I'm going to move to what is making me feel like empowered. This making me feel like I'm a woman, making me feel like I'm a man. So in that precinct, I'm thinking in the mind of, well, where are we at with this? I would rather always deal with people on character than anything else.
Okay, stay right there, but widen it out. So we're not talking about a black man dealing with a black woman, black man in a relationship. Keeping that philosophy for business. So when we start widening that out, so if you got a brother or sister whose business ventures, whose their economic side is dealing with other cultures for that same reason. So maybe the community that they go to other brothers and sisters to try to, let's get this investment stuff going. Let's look at these buildings. And they're not getting the relationship that they want. So they go to the Middle Eastern dude. So they go to the Asian dude. So they go to the Latino. They go to the Caucasian. And they start doing their business, their commerce, and their exchange there. Is it this? Are you less woke because you spending your dollars in empowering other communities for the same reason why you ended up with a Mexican or a white dude, because the relationship you were looking for you couldn't find with your own people, but you found it over here? Does that have anything to do with your level of quote unquote consciousness, connectivity, or wokeness?
I don't believe it did, because I had a conversation with a brother, very prominent brother in the alleged conscious community, and he said, I asked him, I said, would you take any money from a white person? And they said no. I said, why? He said, because then they would control it. And my thing is like, so you get a check from a white person and there's no string attached. Here's money. I love what you're doing. Yeah. I wouldn't take it. I'm thinking in my head like, well, I would take it. You know what I mean? That's my prerogative is money. Only color of money is green, right? Yeah. Okay. So in that sense, now when it plays into the control aspect, and we've talked about it, I hate the fact that we don't control hip-hop music. Yeah. I hate that. It's about allowing people to help the process, but not allowing people to control the process. Yeah. That becomes the issue. But in the scheme of things, if black folks would consume just as much as they consume everyone else, and have become the greatest consumer for black folks and black product, we would have no issues on bargaining and profiting off the things that we have, or controlling the things that we create. But we don't. We always want to go outside. So Javier can come to our neighborhood and he can set up a nice little liquor store, a taco stand, and make money. Okay. Where I can open up a soul food restaurant, and guess what? I'm going to have every single Negro telling me about why my macaroni cheese don't taste like their grandma and won't support, and I'll be closed in 3 days.
Exactly. So say you find a brother who's got commercial buildings in a predominantly black area, and he's like, look, who's looking for black businesses in this area? And none of us are ready to go for whatever reason. So he says, look, I'm trying to get my paper. I didn't just get these buildings just to sit here and collect dust. So Javier got 3 businesses, him and his cousins and some friends, they've got businesses that they want to put in these buildings. I'm going to lease them to them. So now in this community that's predominantly black, Javier got his spots all up in here. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm asking. Does that type of stuff change any of that narrative on how, you put the Mexicans up in here? Yeah, because y'all wasn't ready to go. Does that change?
But that's going to be the forever battle for black folks, right? And that's why we got to get away from the labels and we got to get away from these titles. And we got to understand, it's race first. You know what? If we want to do things better, if we want to be in a position of power, and if we want people to take us seriously and respect us, people don't even respect black folk or fear black folk like they used to. But back in the days, I would say, coming up from the time where I was around, yes, old lady, hide your purse. You can't come into this neighborhood. Yeah. Now that the way they try to create that narrative as it's the same, it's not the same. Yeah. Black folks are not feared like that. Black folks fear black folks in their community more than outside. Understand what I'm saying? Like, outside folks don't fear us like that. We fear each other in our own communities more than anything. Outside used to be like, wow, we don't want to. Now they can gradually come into our community and come out.
We ain't gonna do nothing.
But we'll do something to our own.
Oh yeah. The fact of the matter is, you can go to anywhere in America where it's a predominantly black area, and you recognize the backlash. If you put your hands on one of the little blonde hairs,
man,
what's gonna happen?
Man.
So yeah.
And it's and most of the communities are gentrified. So in reality, I feel like what we have to do, we have to pick up the pieces. We have to really generate an avenue of trust and responsibility and accountability so that we can move it and not label ourselves anything. Conscious is awakening, understanding that we have to do better for our people, bottom line.
Because I think that the stuff that we talk about that we need to really stress is that we are in this together.
Yes.
And finding all of these different labels, different subgroups, different ways to divide us is what's been the problem that has plagued us since we've been here. Mm-hmm. And that the idea of how aware you are to a situation or how awoke you are to what's happening is really irrelevant if you're not taking action to do something to fix the problems that you are aware and that you see with your own two eyes. So when we see all these things and how awake you are and how aware you are and how conscious you are, which is a beaming of enlightenment to the situation, surroundings, and energies around you. If your whole focus is the label of how conscious you are, but the boots aren't touching the ground, the hands aren't touching the flesh, and the actions are not being made to make the situation better, you may not be as awake as you say you are.
I definitely agree with that.
So I think that that's stuff that we not only need to be action orientated about, but it's definitely something we got to say something about.
Definitely say something.
I'm Jermaine Morris here with the one and only Mr. Barry Accius.
Yes, sir. Wake yourself up. Stay woke.
Where can folks find you online to keep up with this titillating conversation?
Barry Accius on Facebook, Barry Accius on Twitter, and at Instagram, Team Void. Holla at me, blackblueprints.com with a Z. Get some Black Blueprints apparel. We got some new shirts coming up. Stick with us.
I'm Jermaine Morris on Facebook, every other social media platform at JMorrisCEO. And this has been the Say Something podcast with Mr. Barry Accius.
Yeah, sir.
And until next show, I'll let you later.